They thought the cameras were off. They thought the ironclad NDAs and the high-priced lawyers would protect them from the public eye. But tonight, the Roloff dynasty doesn't just crack, it completely crumbles. We have uncovered exclusive reports and insider leaks detailing a shocking incident at Roloff Farms that allegedly involves police intervention, a secret $5 million lawsuit, and the immediate catastrophic firing of Caryn Chandler by the TLC network. While Matt Roloff tried desperately to bury the truth to save his fiancée and his reputation, Chris Marek was quietly gathering the evidence in the background that would hand Amy Roloff the ultimate victory she has waited decades for. Is this the end of Little People, Big World? Why was Caryn allegedly escorted off the property in the back of a squad car? And what is the truth behind the secret document that destroyed everything? Stay tuned, because the reality is darker than any script the producers could have written. Before we expose the documents that Matt Roloff never wanted you to see, I need you to do one crucial thing for me. If you want to see justice served for Amy, and you are tired of the secrets, smash that like button right now. It helps us get this information out to the world before the network tries to take it down. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are tracking this story hour by hour, and when the body cam footage is finally released, you do not want to be the last one to know. Join the LPBW update squad right now, and let's get into the story that is shaking the foundation of reality TV. To understand how we got to handcuffs and lawsuits, we have to go back to the beginning of the end. For years, we have watched the slow-motion train wreck that is the negotiation for the north side of the farm. We have seen the tears, the arguments, and the awkward sit-downs. But what we didn't see was what was happening on paper, behind closed doors, while the cameras were focused on pumpkin season. Viewers who have been paying close attention noticed something strange in the last 3 episodes of the show. Caryn Chandler, usually a staple at Matt's side, constantly chiming in on farm business, was suddenly absent. The official story given by Matt in a throwaway line was that she was visiting family in Arizona. It seemed innocent enough, but sources close to production are now suggesting that this was a cover-up for a legal injunction that had already barred her from stepping foot on certain parts of the property. The tension didn't start with a fight at dinner. It started with a printer and a signature. The catalyst for this entire explosion wasn't Amy getting angry, it was Chris Marek getting suspicious. We all know Chris has a background in real estate. He knows how to read a title report. He knows how property lines work. And most importantly, he knows when a deal looks too good to be true. According to insiders, Amy still retained a very small, specific interest in a plot of land adjacent to the big house, a remnant of the divorce settlement that hadn't been fully bought out yet. Chris, being the diligent protector that he is, decided to review the old property lines just to make sure everything was in order for tax season. What he found wasn't a clerical error, it was a calculated move. Chris pulled the public records that Matt Roloff likely assumed nobody would look at until after he and Caryn had moved to Arizona permanently. These records showed a title transfer dated exactly 3 months ago. Matt had moved a significant portion of the farm's assets, including rights to the wedding barn and the farmhouse, out of the primary Roloff trust. But here is where the fraud allegations come into play. The title wasn't transferred to Matt Roloff. It wasn't transferred to the kids. The assets were transferred to a newly formed LLC called CMC Holdings. It doesn't take a private investigator to figure out that CMC stands for Caryn Marie Chandler. This discovery changes everything we thought we knew about the farm negotiations. For seasons, Matt has looked the camera in the eye and said he wanted to leave a legacy for his children, or that he was forced to sell because the kids couldn't get along. But if these documents are real, and if Chris Marek's discovery holds up in court, it proves that Matt was never planning to give the farm to Zach or Jeremy. He was allegedly funneling the assets directly to his girlfriend, bypassing the family entirely. The betrayal here is Shakespearean in its scope. Matt didn't just lie to Amy. He lied to his children, he lied to the producers, and he lied to millions of viewers. He told Amy that the restructuring of the business was routine maintenance, just moving things around for tax purposes. He relied on the fact that Amy, historically, has not been interested in the boring details of corporate structure. He banked on her trusting him one last time. That was his fatal mistake. He didn't account for Chris Marek. Chris didn't scream. He didn't flip a table. He did what any good real estate professional would do. He printed the documents, he highlighted the dates, and he traced the signature. This brings us to the most disturbing part of the theory circulating among insiders right now, the hostile takeover scheme. How could Caryn and Matt possibly think they could get away with transferring millions of dollars of land without Amy noticing? The answer lies in the fine print of an employment contract that dates back to when Caryn was just the farm manager. The theory gaining traction among legal experts who follow the show is that Caryn possessed a manager's clause in her old contract. This clause, intended to allow her to sign for deliveries and minor repairs, allegedly contained loose language regarding power of attorney for farm operations. It is believed that this power was never formally revoked after she quit working as the manager and started dating Matt. The allegation is that Caryn, with or without Matt's explicit direction, utilized this old loophole to authorize the transfer of assets to her own holding company, classifying the multi-million-dollar land grab as an operational restructuring. The motive is clear as day. We have heard the rumors for months that Matt and Caryn want to retire to Arizona full-time. But retirement takes cash, and the farm is asset-rich but cash-poor. By moving the title to Caryn's LLC, they could potentially leverage the property for massive loans or a private sale without needing the sign-off from the Roloff family trust. It was a golden parachute stitched together from the legacy of the family she helped tear apart. They were going to cash out, leave the kids with a hollow shell of a farm, and disappear into the sunset. When Chris presented this information to Amy, the reaction was not what you would expect from the Amy of 10 years ago. The old Amy might have yelled. She might have felt victimized. But this is the new Amy. Sources say she went dead silent. She looked at the papers, looked at Chris, and simply asked, "Are you sure?" When Chris confirmed that the records were official state documents, a switch flipped. Amy realized that every fight over the past 2 years, every tear Matt shed about the kids not talking to him was a performance. She wasn't just dealing with a difficult ex-husband, she was dealing with an active conspiracy to defraud her and her children. But Chris wasn't done digging. He knew that a title transfer was just the tip of the iceberg. If they were willing to move land, what else were they moving? Chris used his access to the multiple listing service and public tax records to look deeper into CMC Holdings. What he found is being described by production insiders as the smoking gun. He found a secondary document, a release of liability regarding the farm's insurance policies, which is required for any title transfer. At the bottom of the document was a signature. It was supposed to be Amy's signature, acknowledging the change. But Amy had never seen this document. She had never signed it. When Chris zoomed in on the signature, it looked shaky. It looked like someone trying to copy Amy's handwriting from memory. And right below it, notarized by a friend of Caryn's, was the stamp of approval. This is where the story shifts from a civil dispute to a criminal one. Forging a signature on a legal document involving assets over a certain value isn't just a plot point for a reality show. It is a felony. It is fraud. And it carries prison time. Chris Marek had found the leverage that would not only stop the sale, but could potentially put Caryn Chandler behind bars. The atmosphere in the house that night was described as terrifyingly calm. Amy and Chris didn't call Matt immediately. They didn't tip their hand. They called a lawyer, a high-powered forensic accountant, and a civil litigation attorney, were brought into the fold within hours. They advised Amy to keep filming, to act normal, and to wait for the perfect moment to confront them, a moment when there would be witnesses. They needed to catch them in a lie while the cameras were rolling, ensuring that the truth couldn't be edited out or denied later. This brings us to the day of the incident. The crew was setting up in the big house for what was supposed to be a standard family meeting scene. Matt was there looking nervous, perhaps sensing that the walls were closing in. Caryn was there, playing the role of the supportive partner, oblivious to the fact that her digital footprint had already been traced. The producers wanted a conversation about the upcoming pumpkin season. What they got was a crime scene. According to leaks from the set, Amy and Chris walked in late. They weren't wearing microphones yet. They walked past the producers, past the sound guys, and walked straight up to the table where Matt and Caryn were sitting. Chris didn't say a word. He simply opened a manila folder and slid the CMC Holdings title transfer and the forged insurance document across the table. Matt reportedly turned pale white. He looked at the papers, then looked at the cameras and tried to signal for them to cut the feed. But the cameras didn't cut. The operators, sensing that this was gold, kept rolling. Matt tried to laugh it off. He tried his classic gaslighting technique, telling Amy, "You don't understand business, Amy. This is just a holding pattern. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." He tried to talk down to her, to make her feel small, to make her feel stupid. But Chris Marek stepped in. He looked Matt in the eye and said, "We know about the notary, Matt. We know about the signature. This isn't business. This is fraud." That was the moment Caryn snapped. Witnesses claimed that Caryn realized the game was up. She saw the red light on the camera and knew that her reputation was being destroyed in 4K resolution. She allegedly stood up, screaming that she had done everything for this family, that she deserved that equity, that she was the one holding the farm together while the kids were ungrateful. In a fit of absolute rage, she reportedly grabbed a piece of production equipment, a very expensive camera lens sitting on the table, and hurled it across the room. The sound of shattering glass was the signal that the point of no return had been crossed. This wasn't just a family argument anymore. Destruction of property, specifically property belonging to a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Discovery and TLC, is a serious offense. The producer stepped in to separate them, but Caryn was inconsolable. She was screaming at Amy, screaming at Matt for not protecting her. It was total chaos. And in the midst of the screaming, someone, we still don't know if it was a producer or Chris Marek, picked up the phone and dialed 911. You have to visualize the scene. The flashing lights of the Washington County police cars reflecting off the pumpkins, the crew standing outside, whispering, wondering if they still had jobs. Inside, the police were taking statements. They were looking at the shattered camera equipment. They were looking at the forged documents that Chris had provided as evidence of the motive for the outburst. The police report, which we are working to obtain a copy of, allegedly cites civil fraud and destruction of property. Matt Roloff was seen pleading with the officers. He was trying to use his local influence, trying to explain that it was just a misunderstanding, a family spat that got out of hand. He was desperate to prevent Caryn from being taken away. He knew that an arrest would kill the show. He knew it would destroy his image. But the police were not interested in his reality TV fame. They were looking at the facts. A woman had destroyed property and was being accused of felony forgery by the property owners. Caryn was told she was trespassing on the land she thought she had successfully stolen. The irony is bitter and cold. She was escorted out of the big house, not as the future matriarch of Roloff Farms, but as a suspect. The blurry photo that has been circulating on Reddit and Twitter appears to show a woman with Caryn's build, head down, entering the back of a patrol unit. While we cannot 100% confirm if she was formally booked that night or just detained for questioning, the visual alone was enough to send shockwaves through the TLC legal department. And this is where the corporate machine turned against them. While Caryn was dealing with the police, the executives at TLC were having an emergency meeting. They realized immediately that Caryn Chandler had become a radioactive liability. If she had indeed forged documents to steal assets while on their payroll. Appearing on their show, the network could be sued for facilitating the fraud. They could be dragged into a multi-million-dollar lawsuit alongside Matt. They had to cut the cord, and they had to do it immediately. The fallout was swift and brutal. We have received details about an internal memo sent from the high-ups at Discovery. The subject line was chillingly brief. Talent update, C. Chandler. The content of the email was a directive to all production staff. Effective immediately, Ms. Chandler is barred from all filming locations. Any footage of her currently in the edit for the upcoming season is to be scrubbed. We are severing all ties. Imagine being Matt Roloff in that moment. You have just watched your fiancé get taken away by police. Your ex-wife and her new husband have completely outsmarted you. And now, the network that made you famous calls you up and gives you an ultimatum. They told Matt he had a choice. He could continue the show alone, rewrite the narrative, and throw Caryn under the bus, or the show would be canceled effective immediately. If the show is canceled, the paycheck stops. If the paycheck stops, he can't pay the lawyers he is going to need to fight the fraud charges. Matt Roloff, a man who has always put the deal above everything else, made his choice. He chose the show. He chose the money. He threw Caryn to the wolves. This is the ultimate betrayal that nobody saw coming. We all thought Caryn was the villain, and she certainly played her part, but Matt's willingness to sacrifice her to save his own skin reveals the true depths of his narcissism. The legal battle that is about to unfold will make the Johnny Depp trial look like small claims court. Amy obtained a temporary emergency injunction the very next morning. This court order froze all of Matt and Caryn's joint accounts. It froze the assets of CMC Holdings. It effectively locked Matt out of his own war chest. He is now fighting a war on two fronts, a criminal investigation into the forgery and the destruction of property, and a civil war against Amy and Chris for control of the farm. And where does this leave Chris Marek? For years, fans have called him weird. They called him creepy. They said he was just there for fame. We owe Chris Marek an apology. He didn't come into this family to steal the farm. He came in to save it. He used his professional skills to uncover a conspiracy that had been rotting the family from the inside out. He stood his ground against a manipulator like Matt Roloff, and he didn't flinch. When the history books of reality TV are written, Chris Marek will be the unexpected hero who brought down the House of Cards. But the story isn't over yet. We still have to discuss the leaked audio from the 911 call, the specific details of the damages TLC is seeking from Caryn, and the rumor that Zach and Jeremy are planning to join Amy's lawsuit to ensure the farm is put into a trust that Matt can never touch again. We are going to dive into the specific legal precedents for this kind of fraud and what it means for the future of the show. Can LPBW survive without Caryn? Will Amy finally take full control? We need to talk about the silence. The silence that fell over the farm after the police lights faded and the squad cars rolled down the long dirt driveway was described by witnesses as deafening. For the first time in 30 years, Matt Roloff was truly alone on the property. No wife, no girlfriend, no children, and for the moment, no cameras. But while the physical noise had stopped, the legal noise was just beginning to scream. The temporary injunction Amy obtained was not just a piece of paper, it was a padlock on the entire Roloff operation. We are hearing reports that the judge granted the order based on the concept of constructive trust, a legal principle that implies that because Caryn used her position of influence to manipulate the title transfer, the assets she tried to steal legally belonged to the original beneficiaries, the family. This brings us to the most fascinating aspect of the TLC fallout, the morality clause. Every reality TV star signs a contract that includes a morality clause, giving the network the right to terminate employment if the talent engages in behavior that brings disrepute, scandal, or legal liability to the production. Usually, networks are lenient. They love a DUI or a public argument because it brings ratings. But felony forgery and corporate fraud are where they draw the line. Our sources inside the editing room at Discovery have indicated that the post-production team is currently in a state of panic. They have months of footage, an entire season's worth of storylines that revolve around Matt and Caryn planning their life in Arizona. They have scenes of them looking at blueprints, scenes of them discussing the sale, and scenes of them traveling. All of that is now unusable. The directive to scrub Caryn is a nightmare for the editors, but it confirms just how serious the legal threat is. If they air footage of Caryn discussing the farm assets and those assets are proven to be stolen property in a court of law, the network becomes an accessory to the narrative of the fraud. They cannot be seen promoting a lifestyle funded by embezzlement. So, what are we going to see in the next season? We are going to see a lot of Matt sitting alone. We are going to see Frankenbite's audio spliced together to make sense of conversations where Caryn has been digitally removed. The narrative is going to shift violently from Matt's new beginning to the farm in crisis, and frankly, that is the most honest television they will have produced in years. But the destruction of Matt's relationship is only half the story. The other half is the sudden, unified front of the Roloff children. For years, Matt has successfully played the kids against each other. He pitted Zach against Jeremy, he isolated Jacob, and he made Molly want nothing to do with the drama. But nothing unites a family like a common enemy. When news of the CMC Holdings transfer reached Zach and Tori, the reaction was explosive. We all remember the bridge-burning fight where Matt refused to sell the North Side to Zach. Now, Zach realizes that Matt likely couldn't sell it to him because he had already earmarked it for Caryn's hidden LLC. The hesitation, the high price tag, the excuses, it all makes sense now. It wasn't about business valuation. It was about protecting the secret scheme. Sources close to Zach and Tori say that they have already been in contact with Jeremy and Audrey. For the first time in a long time, the brothers are on the same page. They are reportedly planning to file an amicus brief in support of Amy's lawsuit. They are not asking for money for themselves. They are asking for the farm to be placed into an irrevocable trust for the grandchildren. This is the checkmate move. By bypassing themselves and making it about Jackson, Lila, Ember, and Bode, they are taking the moral high ground that Matt can't argue against. How can he stand in court and say he doesn't want to secure the future for his grandkids? He can't. And let's look deeper at the role of Chris Marek in this specific family reunification. Chris didn't just find the paperwork, he acted as the diplomat. He was the one who allegedly called Zach. He was the one who explained the situation without hyperbole, presenting the cold, hard facts. Chris has managed to do in 2 years what Matt couldn't do in 20. He has earned the genuine respect of the Roloff boys. They see him protecting their mother and, by extension, protecting their inheritance. There is a rumor circulating that Chris has even offered to step aside from any management role once the dust settles, proving that his intentions are purely altruistic. He doesn't want the farm. He just wants his wife to have peace. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room, Matt's potential testimony. If this goes to a criminal trial regarding the forgery, Matt will be subpoenaed. He will be put under oath, and he will face a prisoner's dilemma. If he admits he knew about the signature, he goes down for conspiracy to commit fraud. If he claims he knew nothing and that Caryn acted alone, he sends his fiancée to prison while he walks free. Given what we know about Matt Roloff, a man who has consistently prioritized his own image and his own financial survival, what do you think he will do? The consensus among legal analysts watching this case is that Matt will turn state's witness. He will paint himself as the victim of a manipulative partner. He will claim that his physical limitations made him reliant on Caryn and that she took advantage of his trust to have him sign papers he didn't read. It is the ultimate irony. Matt Roloff, the man who controlled everything, the man who micromanaged every pumpkin placement and every contract, will have to go on record admitting that he was duped. He will have to play the fool to avoid playing the felon. And that, more than the loss of money, will destroy him. His ego cannot handle being the victim, but his survival instinct demands it. We are already seeing the seeds of this narrative being planted. Matt's social media has gone silent, but his unexpected appearances at the farm's public attractions without Caryn are telling. He is testing the waters, trying to see if the fans will embrace solo Matt. But the comment section tells a different story. The fans know. The viewers have seen the receipts, and they are Team Amy all the way. What happens next for Caryn? The ban from TLC is just the beginning of her problems. With the lawsuit public, her reputation in the local real estate and business community is shattered. If the manager's clause theory holds up, she could be liable for paying back every cent of salary she earned during the period the fraud was taking place. We are talking about asset seizure. We are talking about bankruptcy. The Arizona retirement dream is dead. Reports suggest she is currently staying with relatives, dodging process servers, and trying to find a lawyer who will take her case against the massive legal team Amy has assembled. As for Amy, the transformation is complete. We spent years watching her be indecisive, watching her be bullied, watching her retreat into herself. That Amy is gone. The woman standing on the porch of the big house in the final moments of this saga is a matriarch in full command. She has the law on her side. She has her husband by her side, and she has her children back in her corner. She isn't vindictive. She is just finished. She is finished with the lies, finished with the manipulation, and finished with Matt Roloff's games. The final scene of this season, if the editors are brave enough to show it, shouldn't be a confessional interview. It should be Amy and Chris walking the property line with the surveyor, physically reclaiming the land that was almost stolen. It should be a visual representation of justice. The farm, which has been a source of so much pain and division, can finally begin to heal. But the ground is salted for Matt. He may still own a percentage on paper, but he has lost the soul of the place. He is a ghost in his own castle. This scandal creates a vacuum that the show might not survive, but it also creates an opportunity for a spinoff that fans actually want. Imagine a show focused on Amy and Chris, focusing on their life, their travels, and their genuine relationship, free from the toxicity of the farm wars. Or perhaps the show ends here. Perhaps this is the series finale we didn't know we were watching. A crime drama disguised as a reality show, ending with the villains in handcuffs and the heroes standing tall. We will be monitoring the court docket every single morning. We are waiting for the body cam footage to be released under the Freedom of Information Act. As soon as we have that video, as soon as we see the look on Caryn's face when the officer reads her rights, we will be uploading a frame-by-frame breakdown. This story is far from over. The civil trial is set to begin in 3 months, and lists of witnesses are being finalized. Will Zach take the stand against his father? Will Chris Marek reveal more documents that we haven't even seen yet? Do not look away. The downfall of the Roloff empire is happening in real time, and you are on the front lines. If you believe Amy deserves full ownership of the farm after this betrayal, leave a comment saying Team Amy below. If you think Matt is going to flip on Caryn to save himself, comment Matt's a snitch. Share this video with every LPBW fan you know, because the mainstream media is too afraid of TLC's lawyers to report this. But we aren't. We are here for the truth. Subscribe, stay vigilant, and remember, in the world of reality TV, the most dangerous things happen when the red light turns off. I'll see you in the next update.